Dr. Gil, I'm so thrilled to have you on my podcast today and really excited to talk to you. You're a scientist. I'm a scientist as well, and I absolutely love what you do. You've created something, I know, with your team that is just incredibly helpful for our own, teaching us to be more proactive and preventative in managing our health. And it's I'm so excited. I've done the InsideTracker. I'm thrilled with what I'm learning myself, and I'm just so happy to be talking to you. So welcome, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome and looking forward.
Wonderful. So do you mind by starting off by just telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what InsideTracker is?
Yes, so as you said, I'm a scientist in background, PhD in biology from the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel. Then after finishing my PhD, I moved to the US and done a postdoctoral fellowship at MIT. I was and still fascinated by the aging process. So I joined the best lab that's studying aging, in my opinion, in the world, the lab of Lenny Gaurente from MIT. And I spent 5 years there, studied aging in model organism, in mice, and even in human. And then after MIT, I decided that I might contribute more to humanity if I would start my own company than being a professor in the academia. So I decided to move to the industry. I spent a couple of years in the industry as a scientist, and then I came with the idea of InsideTracker. And the idea is very simple. How can we help people to live better, longer life based on what's happening inside their body? So we basically try to understand what are the markers, how can we understand what happens in our body? So very fast we realized that the best way to do it is to find the biomarkers that will show us what happened in the body. And then based on that, we can recommend food, supplement, exercise, and lifestyle changes that will allow each person to optimize his longevity, his performance, and hopefully being a better himself. So we started with blood biomarkers. And I'm sure that you have seen, if you look at the Quest diagnostic catalog, you'll see that there are thousands and thousands of blood biomarkers. And it's not practical to test all of them because first, it will cost a lot of money, and second, it will maybe drain all your body from all the blood. So basically, you might know everything, but you won't be alive anymore. So we started by basically pinpoint what are the blood biomarkers that are most important for us. We came with a criteria, and the criteria was, first is a biomarker of health and not a disease. So our job is not to replace the physician, but we are trying to help people to live longer, better life. So let's look at biomarkers such as cholesterol and cortisol, which is the stress hormone that I'm sure that you know based on your... Yeah. And other markers that are more for health and not marker of disease, such as prostate cancer markers or breast cancer markers and so on. So that was the first criteria. The second one was, let's look at the biomarker that we can modulate using a simple intervention, food, supplement, exercise, and lifestyle changes. I don't want to look at the biomarker that will tell you, hey, your biomarker is not optimized, but you need to go to your physician and he need to subscribe to you with the drug. So an example are the thyroid markers. They are super important, but in order to modulate them, we need to subscribe a drug. So we decided don't look at them. And last but not least, we wanted to look at the biomarkers that at least 1% of the population is out of optimal. So we don't want to look at the biomarker that 1 in a million have an issue because we feel like we are not giving you a good service. So we didn't look at thyroid because thyroid is basically a biomarker that is very important, but you cannot modulate it using food, supplement, exercise, and lifestyle changes.
So those were your criteria. You wanted to find the biomarkers that could be modulated through exercise and supplementation and lifestyle changes.
Correct. And last but not least, we wanted to look at the biomarkers that at least 1% of the population are out of normal or optimal. And basically, if you have a marker that 1 in a million is not optimized, we don't want to look at it because it's a too rare case that we think that we won't give a value to the majority of our customers. And because of that, we selected 45 blood biomarkers that can give an holistic view of your body. And I like the analogy of a house. So our body is a house, but currently we have a house without windows. With those blood biomarkers, we can have a window that we can look into the house and understand what's happening inside. But the blood gives you one window. Then you have another window that's called the DNA. So the DNA gives you another window that shows you what is your potential. And then the physiological marker or the activity tracker gives you another window. That will allow you to see an holistic picture of your body. And then based on all of that, we can start giving you recommendation, what food to eat, what supplement to take, what exercise to do, and so on.
Fantastic. I love it. It's fantastic. Well, I did this. I've done the InsideTracker, the blood work, and I haven't done the DNA yet. I'm going to do that. But already I got my results, and I spoke to your nurse physician today dietitian who gave the feedback, and it was fascinating. And as we go through the interview, I might just bring up a few questions because I had a few questions I wanted to ask you as a fellow scientist that I found very interesting. First, before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, so this data tracking, how can the data tracking help improve mental health? Because this is a podcast around mental health, and mind is everything. So I know from my research, my neuroscientific research, where I look at the mind-brain interaction, I've seen that our minds are a mental mess. We have immediate increases in cortisol and low DHEA and homocysteine, and the DNA telomeres are affected. And I know I'm doing it on one avenue. You're looking at it in a very different way as well. But collectively, we're both looking to bring physical and mental health. So I'd love you to explain from the InsideTracker, how can looking at these biomarkers, and I love your house analogy, looking at all these different things help contribute not only to our physical health, but also to our mental health?
Yeah, I think that it's a great question. And one aspect of that is sleep. So I'm sure, again, you are an expert in mental health, and I'm sure that you know that sleep is basically the time that if we are looking at our brain, we are cleaning the memory of the brain and allowing to rest and all of that. So sleep is very, very important. And we are looking at the markers that either influence by sleep or influence the sleep, such as glucose and the A1C, cortisol, testosterone, magnesium, inflammation marker, vitamin D. And we're also, as I said before, we are looking at marker of sleep, like deep sleep, REM sleep, and total sleep. So all of that can give us understanding of how your sleep is going, and then we can give you some recommendation what you should do with that. Then we have the cognition, which, again, that's your expertise. You can give much more explanation about that than me. But cognition can influence by the amount of sugar or glucose that you have in your blood, cortisol, which is the stress hormone, vitamin B12 have been shown to be very important for cognition. And then again, all the sleep can significantly influence the cognition. So REM sleep, deep sleep, and total sleep. And last but not least is the stress. So we have cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Mm-hmm. Inflammation, for sure, is very important to decrease stress. Magnesium have been shown to influence stress. And again, sleep itself, like REM sleep, deep sleep, and total sleep. So I think that there is a lot of
them.
And I think that it's very, very important. Mental health is very important, your mood, and it's completely a different world when your mental health is intact than when it's not. So it's one of the most important things to do is to maintain your mental health.
So these biomarkers really can. And you mentioned white blood cells as well. Did I hear you correctly? The white blood cells also being a marker of cognition and mental health. And can you explain why? Because I found that absolutely fascinating. Because from my research that I've done, and I haven't done it as meticulously as you when it comes to white blood cells, I've looked more at inflammatory factors and cortisol and DHEA and homocysteine and ACTH and those kind of things. I'm fascinated with the white blood cells because it's immune system. So it's directly related to immune system. So if you're going to have, you the scientist, can you tell us a little bit more about the white blood cell inflammatory response?
So white blood cells is basically the combination of all the different kind of the white blood cells that we have that are actually the immune system. So you have lymphocyte there and eosinophils and plenty of other. Mm-hmm. And when you have stress, a lot of time that's caused the inflammation to go up and you have a higher level of them. The same with sleep. When you don't sleep well, you might cause inflammation because the body is not ready, not clean to go forward. And because of that, it's very important to keep the inflammation low and, again, be ready for when you really need to have the inflammatory response or the fighting mechanism of invasion to be ready, especially today with the COVID. So a systemic inflammation is not good. And we've seen that a lot of diseases that are, I call it aging-related diseases.
Yes.
A lot of them actually are let's say, mental-related diseases, dementia and Alzheimer. They are actually can cause or become worse when you have high inflammation. So it's very important to maintain the inflammation as low as possible, but also be sure that the inflammation will go up, because even when you exercise, a lot of time you have a peak of inflammation.
Yes.
But that's a good peak. It's going up. It's basically making sure that your body is ready for stress, because exercise is a physical stress. But it's good that it's going up and down. It's not good that it's staying up all the time. So we need to be sure that the inflammation is not up.
So that's a very, very good point that you've raised. So if people's white blood cell, the inflammatory markers are up, it's to retest and see, is this chronic or is it acute? Is it a up and down peak? So do you allow for that in the InsideTracker? So if you pick up, for example, that white blood cell count is really high in all of them, all the different types, or the majority of the ones that you look at, what is the process of InsideTrackers being able to monitor whether this is a response that's chronic or acute?
Yeah, so it's depend that we have a lot of people that are also what I call quantified selfer that like to test a lot of things. So, for example, if you will test your body and go test it after running a marathon, most likely your dose marker will be high. But what is good to do is to come with a baseline that show what is the level when you are not stress yourself. So, for example, we really recommend, at least for the first test, don't test after a day of heavy exercise. Don't test when you are sick, at least in the first time.
Yeah.
Later on, you do it because
you can do it.
To see how the body, and then get your baseline. Okay. Yeah. Now, if you even tested after such a situation, the idea is to test again and again and again. Why? Because then you see how your body behave over time. One test is 1 point, two tests are 2 points. When you have a third point, you started to see a trend.
Yes.
So what I'm saying, even if you're testing whenever you want, that's okay, because then we'll see the trend. And then suddenly you will see, oh, I have a jump here, then something is wrong. It doesn't need to jump suddenly. So then you can come and start research and say, hey, the day before I was sick, or I went for a run, or I don't know, I haven't slept well. And then based on that, you can start coming with hypothesis what's happening. In addition to that, because now we are connecting to activity trackers such as Fitbit and Apple Watch and Garmin.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm.
We can know how was your sleep, how was your resting heart rate. Soon we are going to add a heart rate variability. So then we are starting to understand better not only how your blood is behaving, but again also what happened with your body with the physiological markers. So again, all of that can give you maybe a high definition picture of your body. And based on that, you can find what is the best intervention for it.
So in other words, you're looking for patterns over time. So that baseline is critical. So when people do InsideTracker, and there's a special that we're doing with you for my listeners, which is fantastic, it's important to do that baseline, no exercise, fasted, nice and relaxed as you can be in the current pandemic. But they can apply my techniques and cleaning up your mental mess, the techniques I've developed to calm the mind down, so that they do the blood work at that state, because to get that baseline is so important. So I'm so glad you spoke about that, because I know when we did my first test, I had worked out, I had done a heavy fasted workout, I had done 2 fasted workouts, I'd done Orange Theory, but a really heavy one, and I had done hot yoga in an infrared sauna, and then I had gone straight into 3 interviews back to back, and they were all, and everything was, and there was multiple things that I had to do before both. So by the time my blood was tested, I was already in a very high state of not toxic stress, but my body was stressed, and that's very evident by my white blood cell count. And funny enough, I know LDL cholesterol's got other implications, but I also wanted to ask you, because I'd read quite a lot of research about LDL cholesterol. Yes, we know that it's a negative thing, but it can also be a positive thing in terms of showing you that, telling you that, hey, you got to pay attention. You could be putting your body under some levels of toxic stress from diet and exercise, and also potentially not managing work pressure or not taking enough breaks or whatever, that kind of thing. What would your opinion be about that kind of thing in terms of the white blood cell count and that stressful morning that I had, and in terms of potentially high LDL cholesterol being an indicator? Could it be related to busyness, like extreme toxic stress?
So white blood cells, some of those markers can increase. Usually the white blood cells increase is not fast, so it might take, as much as I know, more than 1 day. As to cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, it can go up temporarily in the blood if you ate something at that morning, because that should be under overnight fasting. So I don't know if you ate something before.
No.
But it could be a lot of the LDL cholesterol is genetics. For example, I have a genetic predisposition to high cholesterol, or specifically LDL cholesterol. And I know that because I done the test, and we are looking at tens of single nucleotide polymorphism that's showing to us whether someone is predisposed or not. And I know also in my family that all my family members have a high cholesterol, so it's not a surprise. So it can also be a
genetic thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some people.
Could it be dietary as well? Because, for example, we eat a keto diet, so we're eating. So it could be dietary.
Yeah. So we've seen it a lot, actually. That's a very good point. Definitely it can be diet. And a lot of the keto diet users can see increase in cholesterol because they eat a lot of fat and a lot of red meat. So that can definitely increase. That can be the reason. But it could be all of them together. That's why we are trying to look at the blood, the DNA, and all together. And what you can do now is try not to follow keto diet for a few weeks and see whether
what change it
LDL
makes.
cholesterol is going down. So that's what's nice about it. You can blood. So you cannot come to me or to us and say, "Hey, my LDL cholesterol is high," and it's a fake news. Like today, it's very nice. Everyone's saying it's a fake news. No, it's what the physician are using, and that's the fact. Exactly. The question is why, then we can start to go into the root cause of that. But I would say that most likely, based on what you told me, it could be the keto diet that you are using, and it could be also your genetics. And that's why keto diet might be good for some people, but not good for others. And I know that there are a lot of diet in fashion. Now keto is very in fashion. Mm-hmm. Some people, it's great for them to do keto, but some other it's not.
Exactly.
And you've got it might not be good for you.
Exactly. And there's also different ways of doing keto. I think if one goes too low carb and too high fat, you could have, it's to actually manage it and to also cycle in and out of it and that kind of thing. So I agree with you, but the bio individualities to find out which combination of I agree with you, never to stick to one, but to actually find the combination and this is where this is so interesting. And that's why I'm glad we went to this question, because it's so important that I love what you just said. And that is that you've got to actually, maybe the keto diet, you've got to find what works for you. There isn't one diet that fits everyone. There's the whole bio-individuality, and InsideTracker can actually help you determine your best combination by looking at these biomarkers. Is that correct?
Yeah, I see InsideTracker in that case sort of the thermometer. We are measuring your temperature. In that case, all the biomarkers. And then we're coming and telling you, okay, you start here, and then do whatever experiment that you want. Keto, vegan, whatever you want. And then do another test, and then
see how that's changed. Yeah,
decrease that, vegan, decrease that, and then based on that, you can feed the best diet for you. That's one way to use it. Another way to use it is we are giving a holistic solution. So we are testing all the markers, and then you can come and say, hey, I would like to improve cognition, or I would like to improve sleep, or I would like to decrease stress. And then based on that, we say, okay, let's focus on those 5 or 10 biomarkers that related to that, and all the research that related to that, and also all the research that related to reduce stress. And then we'll give you a recommendation, follow those recommendations, and then test again, and hopefully everything related to stress or cognition or sleep, whatever you decided, will be improved. But again, what I want to stress is that InsideTracker is not a silver bullet, and I assume that everyone understand that there is no easy solution. So we are giving you a lot of recommendations, but it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. And our body is the most important machine that we have. So invest in your body, and if it's good for you, like for me, I need to do yoga 5 times a week, and I need to aerobic exercise 5 times a week, and I need to sleep this amount of time, and I need to do intermittent fasting, and so I'm doing all of that. And then that's helped me to optimize my biomarkers. But again, I'm testing again, and then I have a different issue, and I'm trying to fix it. So it's very similar. I like the analogy of the car. You take the car to the technician every 5,000 miles. The technician plug a computer into the car, and the computer telling the technician what to do. And then the technician do that, and the car is good for another 5,000 miles. Yeah. But then you go to the technician again and again and again. So InsideTracker is like the computer that you stuck to the car and telling you what to do. But then you need to do it. And then 5,000 miles later, which is, I don't know, you can decide that it's 3 months or 9 months or 12 months. Again, depending on how many miles you are doing. If you are a marathon runner and you run, I don't know, 100 miles a week, maybe you should do it every 3 months. But if you are a normal person like myself, maybe once a year is enough.
But basically, get the InsideTracker. How many times can they do how does it work? Can you explain how the process works?
Sure. So you come to our website, you select the plan that you want to do. And the plan are starting with a simple plan that you can upload the data from your physician. So if you go to your physical every year, you can take basically the PDF or take a picture or download it into our site. We have a computer algorithm that extracts the data from the piece of paper and feed it into our algorithm. And then you receive all the recommendation and all the value that I discussed with you before.
Wonderful.
So that's the cheapest and the easiest. If you don't have data or you want to have more biomarkers, because, for example, cortisol, it's not a marker that you will receive from your physician, you can come and buy it from us. And then either you will go to our partner, Quest Diagnostic, or if you don't want to go to Quest because you don't like to go to Quest because of COVID and all of that, we can send a phlebotomist, basically the technician, to your home or office, and they will take the blood from you. If you don't want that someone will come to your house, we have a home kit. So a kit that will mail to you. You prick your finger, a few drops of blood, and mail it to our partner. And then the data come to us, and then we are basically giving you the recommendation. So you have different way to receive the blood and then receive the recommendation.
And the DNA testing is very easy because that's just a swab. So that's just a kit and a swab, and you just do that and in the morning first thing, and you put that seal that and send that back. So that's very easy to do. So what are you looking at with the DNA? Let's talk about the DNA biomarker.
Sure. So the DNA is interesting because that's showing your potential. So blood showing what happened in your body today, and it's also change all the time. So DNA is a once in a lifetime. Blood, if I could test my blood every day, I would do it every day, but it's hard today. So the DNA giving you your potential, basically, are you predisposed to have high level of glucose or high level of cholesterol? Do you have a higher chance to be sensitive to gluten? Do you have a higher chance to be sensitive to nuts? Are you more aerobic person or strength person? Are you more a morning person or evening person? So a lot of interesting information that basically allow us to basically build the stage and understand who are you. And then on top of that, we are putting the blood biomarkers and the physiological markers. And then again, like the analogy of the house, we can see you from all the angles and give you the best recommendation that you can.
I love it. And then people can also take this to their physicians and show their physicians. If you go to a doctor, you can go and show these markers that they've got from InsideTracker and get more advice and information. So you can go quite well equipped with a baseline for a doctor to be able to help you if you have other ailments or something going on. It's a great thing to have.
Yes, and I can tell you that when I'm going to my family physician every year, I'm not getting tested with her. I'm just showing to her my InsideTracker result, and she's looking at it and deciding whether I should change something or not. And I'm doing it because today in the US, it's very expensive to do a blood test via the physician. You think that it's free, but it's not free. They are charging, then you have a lot of copay. And using InsideTracker, I save a lot of money from my pocket.
That's very good. There's a financial saving by getting the InsideTracker that people can get, because it is blood tests and things are very expensive, and time. Yeah, so that really does help. That's a big factor that people. I love that for your annual checkup or whatever you're doing. It's actually really great to be able to do that. Fantastic.
It's also like I see it like bank account in a way. In the bank account, you can see your financial situation in the last 10, 20 years. The same with InsideTracker, because when you look at the site of the physician, it's very hard to understand the trend and how it's going. But InsideTracker save all your data, so you can see the trend and you can see how it's going from, I have data from 2008, so I can see how I'm changing in my glucose and cholesterol and the cortisol, and then I can see, hey, is it alarming or isn't it alarming? And I could see that one time I tested when I was sick, and I've seen my HSCRP, which is a marker of inflammation, jump like crazy. And okay, I was sick. That's okay. But I know that my HSCRP can jump.
That's fascinating. So you mentioned that you cut out for 1 second there. You looked at your age. Which biomarker was that you mentioned? I'm just scanning through the.
Yeah, it's called HSCRP. It's a marker
Okay,
of
got it. Yeah,
inflammation. Yeah,
just got it over here.
It's like the white blood cells, but it's much more sensitive. So basically, sometimes the white blood cells won't jump as soon as the HSCRP because the white blood cells are cells that need to replicate and it's taking time. The HSCRP, it's a marker that jump a bit faster. So that can give you an early indication that you have
an overall early indication. I'm just looking at mine over here. Yeah, that's fantastic. So if you see that's high, then there's something going on potentially. So you've got that. So you can be very proactive and preventative in your looking after your body and that kind of thing. What I wanted to ask you on a practical level is once people are part of InsideTracker and they've got the results, can they have access to the results? Is there a limited time frame, or do they have access to those results if they just do it InsideTracker as a one-off thing? How long do they have access to those results for? Can they download them and keep them, or do they have to get a membership? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently, you can use the data for a long time, but we are now working on moving into membership. So basically, you will have a 1-year membership every time that you buy, and if you are not buying again, you need to pay for membership. We're going to get into that pretty soon. And the reason for that is that we are giving you a lot of value, like the mobile app and the connection to the activity tracker and all the analysis. We have a big team of scientists that are giving you more recommendation. We have a lot of information and a lot of material to read, peer-review publication, but also a lot of blogs. So we strongly believe that we are giving a lot of value to the customer and the users. And in order to do that, we need to fund it, and that's why we are getting into.
Now that's fantastic. So what you're providing for people is just the concept is the way I see it, is just the concept of InsideTracker being able to track your biomarkers and be preventative and proactive in your health gives you a sense of agency, a sense of empowerment, that you have some control, and that's incredibly good for mental health. I mean, your mind is always with you. You wake up with your mind, you go to bed with your mind, so your mind is always working. And the way if your mind's messy, your body's messy. So you can use your mind to really get into this concept and track and be proactive in using your mind to then track your health and get level of control, which takes away feelings of uncertainty and things. So it can contribute to feeling better peace overall, better mental health overall. I don't know how you feel about that. I think it's...
No, I agree. And I can give you an example now with the addition of the activity tracker. We have a lot of data about you, and we can start looking at what influences the quality of the sleep. Because I call it a N of 1 experiment. Basically, we're looking at you over time, and we have a lot of data points because basically about your sleep. Every night that you slept is one data point. But if you're looking back, we can have hundreds of nights that we have from you. Mm-hmm. So we can start telling you what is the best time for you to go to sleep based on your REM sleep or deep sleep.
Yes.
We can
tell that's you, hey, fantastic.
For you, Caroline, the best time for you to go to sleep is 9:51 p.m. Why? Because we've seen that that's time, if you go to sleep there, the REM sleep and the deep sleep is the best.
That's amazing.
Then we can start telling you what is the best time for you to exercise. Is it the morning or evening or midday? Then we can even tell you what is the best exercise for you. Is it based on what you're doing? Is it weightlifting? Is it running? Is it cycling? Is it doing yoga? So all of that together can start giving you a lot of recommendation and understanding your body better and basically tune the machine that you have yourself.
I love that.
Allow it to basically live longer, better life. So sorry.
No, go ahead, because that I'm just emphasizing what you're saying, and just all that knowledge improves mental health.
Yeah, exactly, because it's giving you control.
Yes, I love that.
Like every time I'm looking at the food for me is like a gasoline for a car. I'm not looking at the food as something that gives me only pleasure. The pleasure is important. Now, by the way, I'm on vacation, so I'm trying to eat a bit more for fun. But I know that nuts are good for me, okay? So I eat nuts instead of candy. I'm taking nuts because I know I need something tasty to eat, but nuts are good for me. Or I know that probiotic is good for me, so I'm finding a good yogurt with probiotics.
Yes.
And so when you have all of those recommendations, suddenly you feel all your day with a great gasoline. And I always look at our body. If you think, if we are getting back to the analogy of the car, you can look at yourself as a Porsche or Tesla, or you can look at your body as Kia Rio.
I like
And
that,
we
yeah.
always want to, everyone look at himself, I hope, that as a Tesla or Porsche.
Yeah.
And in order to be that, you need to give the car enough attention and the best gasoline that you can. So that's how I see it. Let's treat our body in the best way that we can.
I love it. What you were saying there about telling people the detail of like you go to sleep at this time and this kind of exercise. I mean, that's just fantastic news to have. Does that come from the baseline test, the first testing, or does that come from a series of data points that you can give that level of information?
Yeah, so that's come if you connect your activity tracker. And currently we have Fitbit, but we are adding very soon Garmin and Apple Watch. We can actually, if you wear your activity tracker at least a few months before, we can actually receive all this data. And based on that data, we can give you this information pretty soon after you are joining InsideTracker. But if you just buy the activity tracker later and you don't have data, we need at least around, let's say, 100 nights in order
to give you that kind of
understand. So it depends on whether you wear it before or not.
Okay. But, same thing with the exercise, being able to say, is it based which type of exercise? You need a bit of time to be able to make,
And we need you to exercise. So we know that, for example, this night, the day before, you done exercise late or early, and then based on that, we can. So basically, we are looking at you, giving you a lot of attention, not real attention, but attention on
it's
your
through data points,
And then say, hey, this person done, let's say, 80 exercise at evening and 20 exercise at morning. How was his sleep when he exercised at the morning versus at the evening? And then based on that, we can give you that information. We're also actually asking question about stress. So it's a bias question. We're asking you, how was your stress last night from 0 to 5? Okay. How was your sleep last night? Have you consumed coffee? Have you consumed alcohol? And then all of that information also can give us a lot of understanding about your body and understand whether alcohol influences you or not. Some people don't have any problem. They can drink, 5 bottles of wine and they will be okay. Another can just smell the wine and they want to.
They feel terrible. It's amazing that, it's like coffee. It's like coffee as well. I can drink it and fall asleep, and other people, they drink it past 12 o'clock in the day, they can't sleep. So it's like with exercise as well. I know my youngest daughter, she prefers to exercise in the morning. I'd like to do fasted workouts, but it makes me very tired during the day. So I prefer to exercise towards the end of the day versus the morning. So it's interesting. So when you said that about what's the best time of the day, to be able to have that knowledge is fantastic. I mean, if I look at I've got your screen up in front of me, you talk about overall health, metabolism, inner age, injury prevention, heart health, strength, power, sleep, stress, endurance, immunity, and gut health. I wanted to ask you very quickly, how does metabolism, 2 questions. First of all, how does metabolism and mental health, the link, each one of these is linked to that, but metabolism and mental health, if we could deal with that question, then I have one more question before we close.
Yeah, sure. So metabolism is very important because a lot of what I call lifestyle-related diseases are related to metabolism. So if you look at diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, and even some of the dementia are related to issue with metabolism. And we have a lot of markers that are looking at that, all the sugar-related and the lipids, the triglycerides, another that's related to that. So basically, if you optimize your metabolism, you have much better a chance to stay healthier longer. And I really like the term of healthspan. So everyone is talking about lifespan, but lifespan meaning how long you live. It doesn't mean what is the quality of your life. And nobody wants to live in the last 20 years and be connected to a lot of tube and lie on the bed and be in the hospital. So the health span is basically how long can you do what you like. I don't know, I like to cycle and walk outside and talk with smart people like you. I want to continue to do it until the age of 100. But in order to do that, you need to invest right now when you are relatively
be proactive.
It's like investing for your retirement.
Exactly.
You invest a lot of money, you put aside a lot of money for retirement. But if you won't get to retirement age in a good physical condition, what can you do with this money? You will be in a hospital. But if you invest in your retirement, but also in your health span, you will get there, you will have enough money, you will have fun, you will travel the world. So that's what we're trying to do, help you to optimize your body I'm not saying that we are trying or claiming that everyone can live to 120. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no, you're just saying being proactive in creating a lifestyle where you quality.
Exactly. Try to reach your potential. We have also a lot of athletic active people that coming to us and using InsideTracker. So I'm not saying that if I will start running a marathon, I can compete with the Boston Marathon champion. I can't. Yeah. But what I can is I can reach my potential. If my potential is to run Boston Marathon in 4 hours,
That's
can
great.
Get to that. But so what we are trying to do is to help you to reach your potential and help you to live longer, better life.
Love it. I totally agree with that. And it's totally the research I've done is if you're managing your mind to manage your lifestyle, you're going to live a longer life. That's what I've shown with my research. I mean, we've shown with the telomeres and the DNA, the blood markers. So with mind, so if I think of linking our work, I work with mind management, and you need your mind to be able to hear what you're saying and this incredible system that you have. And you need to use your mind to listen and do this and apply the advice. And then you get your mind right to get your body right to get your life right. So it's a really fantastic thing. Last question: do you think there's so much biohacking that's happening now? This is what basically InsideTracker, the glucose monitoring, and I think these things are fantastic. Is there a potential downside to overdoing this, that people could become obsessed with tracking everything all the time, and that could also have a negative impact on mental health?
Yeah, if you are doing too much, it can get you into stress. Because suddenly you look at these markers that are not really understood, and especially someone that is not trained, and I'm sure that a lot of physicians will say, it can get you into stress. So that's why we are only using something that there is a lot of data about it, and we're trying to explain it to the user. And we're also trying to coming down in a way that if someone come to us and something is not clear, we are giving a free of charge consultation with a nutrition expert like what you had, because we really feel that some people need it, some people don't need it. But in general, I think that don't use something that it's not completely scientific valid. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? I can give you an example. Microbiome today is a lot in fashion, and a lot of people doing a microbiome test. But nobody knows what does it mean. So
exactly.
You have a lot of data. You know that you have 500 strain of bacteria in your body. But okay, so what should I do with that data?
Yeah.
So I think that will come later. The same with DNA testing. A lot of people doing a lot of DNA testing.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly what does it mean. What we are trying, what InsideTracker is trying to do, is to try to explain it, and then give you a tangible and simple intervention. Okay, you are more endurance than strength. What does it mean? Does it mean that you can take it to two ways? One way is to come and say, you're more endurance than strength, so continue to run. Another way, you can come and say, look at it completely opposite. Say, okay, in endurance you are great, you need to work on the weightlifting because you are not building great muscle on your hands. So what I'm saying, take the data and make sense of it. Don't overload yourself with a lot of data. And what can you do with that?
I love that. Mm-hmm.
The example is the activity tracker that's telling you, you need to do 10,000 steps. Okay, well, what happens if we do 9,000 or 11,000? There is no science about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love that you said the science. I've just written my 19th book. This is it, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess. And the first half was my clinical trials. I agree with you. And you've just published a paper as well about InsideTracker. I was reading your scientific paper today, and it's fantastic because science is so important. Science is knowledge. So, this is not, you're not just throwing something out there that's unscientific. Everything is very grounded in science. That's how I work too. Everything is grounded in science, and with the recognition that science changes, so you keep doing the scientific research. So I want to emphasize that with InsideTracker, and I really appreciate that you have that scientific approach, and I appreciate that you give the knowledge that you do. There's a lot on the website that gives you understanding. With your blood results, you explain everything. You have little videos, and that's really important because we've got to have knowledge and skills and change our attitude in order for behavioral change to happen. And I believe InsideTracker is really offering that. I know for our listeners, I'm super excited because we've got a special that we're doing with with you, and I'm just going to read it so that I get it correct. And that's basically, there's an InsideTracker pre-order bonus. So if people pre-order my book, which is coming out on the 2nd of March, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess, and you actually get access to InsideTracker so you can clean up your physical mess, so you can be proactive about cleaning up your physical mess. So if you pre-order this book now, if you go to the show link, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess, you have a special with InsideTracker, and this thing is, InsideTracker is wonderful. I mean, I'm using it, and basically you will get a discount. You will get 25% off the Ultimate Plan and DNA Kit, and receive free Inner Age at $100 value from InsideTracker. The Ultimate Test and DNA Kit are for USA and Canada orders only. So there's a special. If you pre-order the book today, go to the show notes, see the link, then you will get the InsideTracker link as well, and you'll get the special, which is 25% off. So this is really an amazing deal. Thank you so much, Dr. Gil, for offering that to my listeners, because I'm totally in favor of cleaning up the mental mess and being proactive in cleaning up our physical mess. And I think together we can help people do that. So thank you for your great work, and I'm really happy to be, talking to you about this very, very important subject. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your insight and your findings on this podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. It was a pleasure.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.